After 9 years, this Liberal NDP Prime Minister is not worth the hunger or homelessness as 1 in 4 Canadians skip meals. Edith is a single mom in my community that can't afford to feed her kids because this Prime Minister doubled groceries and gas. And his bright idea, he jacked up the carbon tax 23%. Common sense Conservatives are calling on him to axe all federal fuel taxes this summer to save average families $670. Will he vote with us, or does he want more families like Edith's to go hungry and broke?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, maybe I need to go through the math again to make sure that it is understood.
You
the
do need to go over
that
math
the Conservative
again.
Party is claiming, based on that assertion, is based on the use of gasoline over the summertime of 3,293 liters of gasoline. Do the math. It's not complicated. At an average consumption of 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers, a family in Alberta would have to drive 37 kilometers to be able to benefit for those claimed savings, Mr. Speaker. This has nothing to do with reality. It would be nice for the Conservative Party of Canada to come down to earth and leave La La Land for a little while.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Well, Liberal math for that anti-Alberta minister says that jacking up the carbon tax 20% is somehow going to fix forest fires and reduce the...
I'm going to just ask the Honourable Member to start from the top again and just to rephrase it slightly on that front. The Honourable Member from Calgary,
Greg,
Forest
what are you
Lawn.
doing? He doesn't have to rephrase that.
Liberal math says jacking up the carbon tax 23% is going to somehow magically fix forest fires and reduce the cost of groceries like that Edith can't afford. And they think we're gullible and incompetent like the NDP, that we'd blindly support policies that made 2 million Canadians go into a food bank in a single month and that made 1 in 4 Canadians skip meals. Why don't they do everyone a favor? Give Canadians a break and put them out and finally end their misery. Call a carbon tax election so common sense Conservatives can scrap the carbon tax scam and Canadians can kick this costly carbon tax coalition to the curb.
Come on, anti-Alberta. You should have said it again. Hold on.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
There they go again, Mr. Speaker. They want to ruin the rebate for Canadians. A rebate that disproportionately impacts the middle class and lower-income Canadians working hard to join the middle class. I also noticed, Mr. Speaker, that throughout the past few weeks, they've been quoting from reports from Food Banks Canada, from Salvation Army, and those reports are important. We thank those organizations for those reports. What they point out are challenges faced by Canadians. In those recommendations, which they ignore, they point to programs that this government has continued to support, the Canada Child Benefit, for example, that they've voted against every single time.
The Honourable Member from Lethbridge.
After 9 years, this NDP Liberal government is not worth the hunger and homelessness that it's causing so many Canadians across this country. Many Canadians just simply look forward to a small summer vacation, a road trip perhaps. It's normally a time where they can go and camp in the mountains or go to a national park or visit loved ones. But this year, many Canadians can't afford this simple delight because this government has made life too expensive. On Monday, this House will have the opportunity to vote on a common sense motion to save Canadians 35 cents per litre on gas. Will the Prime Minister vote with us, the common sense Conservatives, so that Canadians can afford a simple vacation, or will he force them to stay home?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
The Honourable Minister of Bowtie.
You can take a summer fun time vacation where you're locked in a car for 10 consecutive days, nonstop with no bathroom breaks, and the Conservatives have a plan for you to have that summertime fun. And the cost? Give up the future of the planet, right? Don't worry, kids, about climate change. Don't worry about taking action on the planet. Enjoy your 10 hours in the car and let the planet burn.
You would think it's Wednesday. The honourable member from Lethbridge.
It does. It kind of feels like Wednesday in the House.
This out-of-touch Prime Minister might be able to take a $230,000 taxpayer-funded vacation to some fancy island, but that's not an option for most Canadians. In fact, most Canadians just simply want to be able to get in a car and drive a few kilometres to enjoy a national park or the mountains for the day. But that's even out of reach for so many of them because of this Liberal government's out-of-touch policies that are driving up the cost of everything. On Monday, this House will have the opportunity to vote on a very common-sense motion that would take the federal tax off of fuel. It would make life affordable for Canadians and allow them to enjoy their summer. Will the Prime Minister vote with us so that Canadians can afford a simple road trip, or will he force them to stay at home while he enjoys his luxury vacation?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, today we're having a lot of fun with figures because the Conservative AI machine suddenly kind of broke down and didn't quite supply them with the right math, and they do rely heavily on that for mathematics. I do note that that member fights against a regime that sends 8 out of 10 Albertans more money than they pay in. But she was a little sheepish, a little quiet, when her own Premier, Danielle Smith, hiked gas taxes 13 cents to fuel, increased government spending in Alberta. She didn't talk about that. I wonder why.
The Honourable Member from Dufferin-Caledon.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canadians know this Liberal Prime Minister, he's not worth the homelessness, he's not worth the hunger, and he's not worth the tent cities that are propping up everywhere. But there is a plan to give some relief. A Conservative motion will take the carbon tax and all federal taxes off gas from now until Labor Day. It will save 35 cents a litre and maybe give Canadians a road trip. The only road trip these Liberals know are their ministers driving around in their limousines with their chauffeurs. Will they support the motion to axe the tax, yes or no?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and
That
Communities.
Conservative motion, Mr. Speaker, is written on the same napkin as their housing plan. The reality is that whenever it comes to serious issues of the day, all they have are slogans, Mr. Speaker, hollow slogans. What happened in the House of Commons yesterday? Every single party in this House, minus the Conservatives, voted against their initiative because it would tax home building, Mr. Speaker, and it says nothing about homelessness. Finally, Mr. Speaker, most of their caucus is made up of rural members. Do they know that that housing plan only applies to a certain number of cities, not to the entire country, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Member from Dufferin-Caledon.
It's unbelievable. This would save 35 cents a litre in gasoline. Now, it doesn't mean much to ministers who get driven around by chauffeurs in their limos who probably haven't pumped gas and know the cost of gas in about 10 years. But for the average Canadian family, it will mean everything. And they could actually do something about it. I know they don't take road trips, but actual Canadian families do, and it will make a difference. And they've got a choice. They can vote to actually take those taxes off, save Canadians 35 cents a litre so they can take a road trip, or they continue to punish Canadians with this damn carbon tax.
Just going to ask members to be very careful about the use of language in the House. The Honourable Minister for Families and Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives want to talk about numbers today, so let's talk about a few of those numbers. 4, the number of consecutive months that we've seen inflation decrease in this country. 750,000, the number of families benefiting from our affordable early learning and childcare. 1.3 million, the number of Canadians that have been lifted out of poverty with our policies. 400,000, the number of kids that will receive access to food at school. This is what our government is doing on this side of the House. Why won't the Conservatives get on side and support Canadians? Bravo.